Welcome back to the PT Graduate Podcast. My guest today, Justine Jeddy. Hello.
Hello, hello, Rich. How are you?
I am very well indeed, thank you. Lovely to make the connection and meet someone new. We haven't met before, so this is one of those episodes where we're getting to know each other at the same time as trying to find out a little about our businesses and what we do and where we do it. So give us the rundown, Justine. Where are you based? What do you do? How did you get into it? All that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, thank you so much for having me on today. Appreciate it. So I'm based in Sydney, Australia. I've been a coach now for almost 12 years. I think it's going to be 12 years in September this year. I started out on a PT floor in a local CBD gym in Sydney. And the way I got into it was quite funny. I was working for a not-for-profit charity, and I wasn't happy with my fitness and my weight at the time. And I hired my first PT that happened to be at this gym that I was the first gym that I actually ended up working
Hmm.
in. Um, and he really taught me a lot of not just gave me a plan, but he actually taught me things around nutrition. And that was the first time that I kind of saw it differently, where I'd kind of yo-yo dieted before and done all of
Right.
those things. And I remember thinking at the time, oh, this would be really cool, like in terms of impacting someone else's life in a really positive way, as opposed to just I saw it beyond more than just, giving a training program or
Hmm.
nutrition. And at the time, I remember thinking like I didn't know what I wanted to get into, so I kind of just at the time was thinking, oh, I'll study for it and then just see it as a side hobby. I didn't even think of
Yep.
it as a career.
Yeah.
And that's, lo and behold, where we are at today.
Hmm.
So yeah, I was kind of in the corporate space for a bit and then kind of shifted into training clients in the gym floor, and then just within a few weeks was like, no, I want to do this full time. This is just so amazing. So that's kind of where it started. And over the years, I've worked for various gyms in Sydney. I'm now
Yep.
fully online. I moved online when COVID hit, like a lot
Yep.
of coaches tried to
Hmm.
do. And for that was a really steep learning curve for me, because I knew that I wanted to offer more than just here's a training app and we'll do a
Yeah.
Zoom call every now and then.
Yep.
And that was kind of the start of building my educational academy and
Hmm.
upskilling myself and learning more about hormonal health and everything else. And yeah, that's kind of what's brought me here right now.
Fantastic. So you're 100% online.
Now, yes, I am
Wow.
100% online.
Okay.
Yeah.
How was that transition? Because I mean, obviously, COVID accelerated that for everybody in terms of, well, what the hell am I going to do now? But at what point did you kind of go, okay, this is going online, the whole thing?
Yeah, so I feel like COVID definitely did accelerate it for me in particular, because before COVID even happened, I remember having conversations with friends that were also coaches, being like, oh, I want to get into the online space, because in my mind, I always had this vision that I wanted to give more to my clients than just, the training
Yeah.
sessions.
Yeah.
And I think any coach that's been in this space long enough knows there's so much outside of the gym that
Mm,
happens that really moves the needle the most, for a client to truly succeed and to not just kind of yo-yo or go back and forth. Or
mm.
so I kind of already had that in my mind. I just think COVID sped it up for me, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess we're starting sooner than expected,
Yep.
um, which was an unexpected blessing, because I probably would have just kind of put it off and been like, because I had a full book of clients in the gym at the time.
Right.
So yeah, COVID kind of helped me get more focused in doing that.
Mm, mm. And so, were you reliant on a platform? Was there a platform that helped you deliver the online stuff? And is that something you've stuck with, or has that changed over time?
It has changed over time. So I remember in the first lockdown, I remember just operating off like PT Hub for the training plans and doing Zoom calls,
Mm,
for the coaching side of it. And I remember thinking like I want to start creating educational content and put that in a place where clients can access it.
mm.
So that's where it kind of started from. And then to now I'm using Kajabi.
Right.
And what I love about Kajabi is it's all in one place. So it's got the
Mm.
course there. It's got, you can do CRM. So all my email marketing I do through that, my landing pages, my website. And it's been really easy and seamless to use. It's not like coding or
Okay.
anything. So if you're not super
Yep.
tech savvy, it's just really nice. Whereas I know I've got a few coaching friends that they, using linking Zapier to all these different
Yeah.
spots,
Yeah.
and it can get a bit confusing. And I just wanted something that was kind of everything in one place. So I found Kajabi quite good to use that to
Okay.
host everything, which has been really good, and
Mm.
WhatsApp for my kind of community group
Mm.
and connection with clients as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So is all the programming on Kajabi as well? So is it programming as well as education on there?
So the education's on Kajabi.
Yeah.
I still use PT Hub for the programming.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so that's kind of what I've done at the moment, and then
Mm.
WhatsApp and Zoom, like Zoom for the live calls and WhatsApp for the community and texting and
Got
stuff.
you. Got you.
Yeah.
Cool. And I see from your website there's kind of a couple of options. You can do a like a work with you individually,
Mhm.
or there's a community like a group version. Is that right?
Yes, correct. Yeah. So the one-on-ones really for women who like know they need probably have tried many times to lose weight, to get in shape and to be consistent. And they probably tried multiple maybe programs, challenges, diets, and for whatever reason it just hasn't stuck.
Mm.
And what find tends to support that type of client is really looking at potentially underlying behaviors, coping habits, self-sabotaging, things like that. And
Yeah.
also their mindset too, because
Mm.
something that I've really something I'll die on a hill shouting is that no one can outperform their self-image. So with a lot of women that I coach, it's the kind of subtle um, limiting beliefs that I find trip them up over time. Like anyone can
Yeah.
change their habits, temporarily and
Mm.
go hard, but
Mm.
it's how do you create that consistency over time and have your identity catch up to that so you're not anchoring yourself in who you are and, oh, this is what I do when I'm stressed, or this is what I do when
Yes.
I have a bad day, or
Yeah.
um, so that's kind of what my one-on-one coaching is really designed to solve
Brilliant.
is on that kind of deeper level with coaching wise.
Yep.
And then the group programming is more for women who kind of have that done. They just need that accountability and direction and community, and they kind of
Mm.
get that from the community and education too. So they get access to education and a personalized plan and everything as well.
Mm. Mm. I like it. It sounds like a really great structure. Tell me a little bit more about the mindset stuff. So I picked up that trauma-informed mindset coach. So not just a mindset coach, but trauma-informed mindset coach. Can you break that down a little bit for me?
Of course, yeah. So trauma-informed coaching, I did a certification that was kind of NLP, and I worked with a coach, Joel
Mm.
Brown, who's in the States about 2 years ago. Don't know if you know
Mm.
about him, but his certification was really focused on limiting beliefs and trauma-informed coaching. What I define as trauma-informed coaching is really just having an understanding that someone's past experiences or events can absolutely shape how they see themselves, their behaviors, their habits, and how they show up in any given day.
Yeah.
And for
Yeah.
me, something that I was finding in the gym, which was probably kind of in the back of my mind, what I was kind of thinking before COVID even happened was like, I want to really address that because, you see on a gym floor day in, day out, people, yes, you get clients that don't know how to do a deadlift or don't know how to perform an exercise properly,
Mm.
but that's not really the main block that's stopping them in terms of their long-term,
Yeah.
training and consistency and habits. So
Mm.
that's something that I really obsess over. I don't treat trauma like a therapist would, obviously. I stay in my
Yep.
lane, but
Yep.
I definitely work with clients through certain limiting beliefs and certain coping habits and behavior patterns like emotional eating
Mm.
and things like that, and how what habits and behaviors kind of show up when they're in a dysregulated state, when their nervous system is
Yes.
dysregulated.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
so that's kind of the stuff I like to obsess
Mm.
over.
Mm. Yeah, I love that stuff too. It's fascinating. I've done some NLP work as well, and I noticed you used the word anchoring, and that's something that NLP talk about, and I'm keen to hear more. If you're happy to share, without obviously. revealing all your trade secrets. But if someone, obviously there's an identity component in there, isn't there?
Mm,
How would you help people shift that anchor if they are displaying limiting beliefs, which they may not be aware of, but you can see it or you can
mm,
hear it?
yes.
How do you help them get that anchor up and drop it in a different place?
Absolutely. No, great question. There's kind of two parts of it. There's a lot of literature and evidence-based psychology in the fact that every one of us has like an identity habits loop, essentially. So your identity feeds into what you believe about yourself. What you believe about yourself then impacts how you show up, and how you
Mm,
show up consistently then impacts your habits over time. And then
yeah.
that loop feeds back in how you see yourself showing up, that then feeds back into your identity and how you see
Mm,
yourself,
mm,
which is where you get a lot of, well, I certainly get a lot of women who say to me, oh, I'm not a consistent person, or I never stick to anything, or whatever. And it's because they rightfully so have got enough evidence of, doing a diet for 3 weeks and it not working, and having to
yes.
shift that and going, the diet wasn't sustainable for you. It wasn't that you failed. You put in 110% effort, but it didn't match the reality of your life and what you were dealing with. And it also didn't teach you anything about yourself and your eating habits and nutrition. And that's why it tripped you up. And then you went on to the next diet or the next surface level thing, and it didn't actually address what you needed. Um, so shifting it, it kind of, the way I do it is I kind of get them to identify it first. And the way
Yeah.
I kind of get them to do that is like, what are on a regular basis the reoccurring thoughts that you have in your head, that
Yeah.
are going around in your head, or especially when you feel like you failed, you've fallen off track, like what are you telling yourself? Because I think it starts with a story that you tell yourself. And
Mm, mm,
the thing is, it's not whether that story is true or not. It's what our brain actually believes is true is based on how repetition and how much
yeah.
we tell ourselves that story. So that's kind of where I
Mm,
start. And then
mm,
it's a case of kind of unpacking that. And that really does depend on how comfortable the client feels. Obviously, like in terms of regulation work, like you want the client to feel safe in the
mm,
space to do that.
mm.
Some of them are happy to just dive in. Some of them need a bit more time and
Yeah.
space to do that. But that's
Yeah.
kind of how I approach it.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, it's good. And everyone's different, right? Everyone's pace is different. Everyone's
Yeah,
starting at different points.
yeah,
So you've got to pivot and adapt to whoever's in front of you, haven't you?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I do like that mindset stuff though. I'm fascinated. I kind of wish I'd gone and done a psychology degree when I had the chance to go, what shall I do? And you
Yeah.
just sort of follow a path and then when you look back go, but this stuff's so interesting, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Even
I
I've had
wish.
that debate with myself in the last 6 months. I'm like, do I go for a psychology degree? Do I
Mm,
not? Like, do I
mm,
have the time? Yeah, because it
yeah,
is
yeah.
fascinating.
You're very much into hormone health, and you come from a hormone health nutritionist point of view. So when you're talking about nutrition, it's very much focused around helping people regulate their hormones and optimize them, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in a more in an evidence-based way for sure. I think there's a lot of misinformation on the internet, and I feel like I
Mm,
find a lot of my time, especially when I'm working with a new client, having to debunk stuff
right.
like hormone balancing supplements, or getting your cortisol levels down, and it's looking at it from a place of like doing cardio, for example. Yes, that's going to elevate your cortisol levels temporarily, but that's going to be far more beneficial for you
Mm,
than not doing the cardio. And it's
mm,
more looking at, okay, how do you rest and recover? That's going to be what's more important, especially in perimenopause. With most, I think the stats something like over 75% of women struggle with fatigue and cravings in perimenopause, and that makes a lot of sense when you look at what's happening hormonally.
yeah,
But even more so, like the rest and recovery is super important, and that's something that I try and instill in all my clients is like, how you lost weight in your 20s is not how you're going to lose it at 50, and that's
yeah.
okay. It doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean anything's wrong with your body. It's
Mm,
just meeting yourself and your body where it's at, and
mm, mm,
tweaking things. Yeah.
mm. Yeah, absolutely. It's not broken. It just operates slightly differently.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's understanding that nuance. I see you've got lots of testimonials of the success that you've had, and you sort of stand behind, losing up to 30 kgs,
Mm,
and by trusting their body and I guess tuning into things and being more intuitive. But
mm.
people need their hands held, don't they, in that process,
Yes.
especially if
Yes.
that isn't a way that they've thought about it before. That's quite a claim. I mean, that's a significant amount of weight for a start. I mean, obviously it's up to, but
Mm.
when people don't have all the tools and like you say, it's not the same recipe as it was when you were 20.
Mm.
How do you simplify it so that people can still make sense of what their steps are that they need to take?
Absolutely, that's a really good question. I first want to start by saying, with being more intuitive and building trust, that comes after having a concrete understanding and doing the reps so that you can you build that intuition through doing the reps.
Right.
So something that I see a lot is women are like, oh, like I intuitively eat, and I'm like, do you though? Because your version of intuitive eating is giving into your cravings, like binge eating when you're stressed and
Mm,
thinking that that's intuitive eating. So I
yes.
just want to clarify that. It's like true intuitive eating comes when you can look at a plate and be like, okay, that's like, getting 30 grams of protein, that's roughly how many veggies, like, and know how to create a balanced meal,
Mm,
and also know what your hunger cues mean, like, are you
mm,
hungry because you're in the luteal phase of your cycle, or and
mm.
your metabolic rate is increased, or are you hungry because you had a shit night's sleep, or you know
Yes.
what I mean?
Yes.
So it's tying all of that together and
Mm,
connecting those dots to then
mm.
get to a place where you can intuitively eat, in the sense of like put together a meal, or know what you need to give yourself on any given day, because your intuition is established on understanding, on evidence-based nutrition, and you knowing what your body needs and knowing how it all kind of connects together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It makes sense to me. I wonder how that goes in a group environment where different people will be bringing different challenges to potentially the
Mm.
same problem. Or
Yeah,
problem's
sure.
the wrong word, right? But I mean
Yeah,
that
yeah,
in a nice way. Like the challenge that they face is
yeah.
wanting to be a weight that they're happy with at a
Yeah.
different stage of life.
Hmm.
I hear what you say in terms of what the difference between sort of intuitive eating is as opposed to what people think it is. Um,
Mm.
and I suppose, like you say, doing the reps, but it's not just let's come back in 8 weeks and see whether you've done those reps. It's like
Of
they
course.
need more hand holding along the way, don't they?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
It's complex.
It is. And something that I find myself repeating a lot with new clients is saying to them, you've been sold a method, not the principle. So the principle in terms of weight loss is a calorie deficit. You've been sold keto, intermittent fasting,
Mm,
5-2. Those are all methods of the same principle.
mm,
So it's that's how I kind of simplify it and explain it to them. And so from a point of view of then getting them to understand, okay, like this is where you should be at in terms of a calorie deficit. I don't ever bring my clients' deficit super low. I
mm.
want them to really fuel their body well,
Yeah.
and also in the process enjoy their life, and that in itself is kind of a shift. To be like, oh, I can eat meals out. I don't have to stick to a meal plan, or I can, I can just, and
Mm,
I know that there's always different camps with this, but I do encourage my clients to track their calories, at least initially. I
yeah.
say to them that tracking is a short term, see it as a tool in your toolkit, but it's a
Yeah.
short term uh, habit that you can learn. You're not going to do it for the rest of your life, but the
Mm,
nutritional awareness that that brings for you, where you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that,
yes.
the spaghetti that I was having on a Thursday night with my partner was like 800 calories, so.
Yeah.
Um, so I
Yeah.
think that's kind of where I start them to understand that. Um,
Mm, mm,
and I feel like that in itself, at least the feedback I've gotten, that in itself gives them a lot of clarity, because
mm.
with obviously the plethora of misinformation online, and doing different things, there's already that kind of nutritional confusion around, like, but I've heard low carb is good, or I've heard this is good, or like,
Yeah.
where do I
Yeah.
start, kind of thing. And so that's where I try and bring that clarity, that's rooted in evidence, to them, so that they
Mm,
can get that, oh, okay, now it makes sense, kind of,
yes.
yeah, and
Ah,
just kind of
moment.
start there. Yeah.
I like it. I saw a reel the other day where this guy was loading half a table up with fruits, vegetables, lean meat. chicken breast, pineapple, and it took about 25 seconds. It almost got to like, come on, come on. But you could see why he was dragging it out,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and the screen said 4,000 calories, and
Mm,
the other side of the table was empty.
yeah.
And after he'd filled the first half up, he just brought a large container of Nutella,
I
and it
think I
said
saw that reel.
4,000 calories. And then it's like, holy shit.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like, I know how this works, but when you see it visually, your brain sort of just
yeah,
understands the world in a different way, doesn't it?
yeah.
And I think the calorie counting is a really useful tool. And I agree, it's a sort of short-term tool
Mm,
that raises awareness and makes people think twice. And it isn't something that you can say, like, even for 12 weeks is a long period of time. Like a couple of weeks is probably enough, isn't it, to go, do you get
yeah,
it? Do you get it? Does that help?
yeah, yeah,
And hey presto, there's another bunch of reps that they can, tick off.
yeah, absolutely,
What is it
absolutely.
that particularly interested you in the perimenopause space? Because it is chronically underserved, and I think health professionals are cottoning onto that and realizing that there's an opportunity, obviously a commercial opportunity, but an
Mm,
educational opportunity and a human
mm,
opportunity because even the research is horribly underserved and it's always young fit men as opposed to females at certain life stages where then we can talk to the evidence and say this is what we should do.
mm.
What motivated you into that space particularly?
Um, the funny part is I feel like I fell into that space in the same way I fell into coaching initially. Is I before lockdown happened, I noticed that a lot of my clients and as you would know, like working in a gym, like you serve a variety of clients. So in the gym, I was serving like men, women, all different ages, stages.
Mm,
But I noticed that I was serving a lot of kind of women in that age bracket of like above 40, like around 50, like around that. And just with the questions they would share with me, I was just like, okay, this is interesting. This is not like this isn't working where it normally would. Like, what's going on here? And that was kind of, I guess, that curiosity that kind of was like, okay, like I want to understand this more. That's kind of where it started of like, I just want to understand this because I want to be able to serve my clients better.
mm,
And then when lockdown happened, I was invited into that this menopause group online that was based in New
right.
Zealand, and I got connected with one of the admins, and I actually helped her on her fitness journey. And I think she, in her own words, became a raving fan. And then
Mm,
that's when I kind of was like, oh, maybe I should focus on this. I know that from a business perspective, especially online, they say niche. And so it was kind of like, do I just focus on this? And I think something um, that really interested in me about it specifically was the challenge, the fact that in perimenopause, from a pure facts perspective, it is the hardest to lose weight just
mm,
because of everything that's happening there.
mm,
And to your point about it being underserved, it bothered me that even PTs and coaches that meant well weren't able to meet those women where they were at.
mm.
And that's kind of what inspired me to kind of continue on along that path to like learning more about it, understanding it, like and being able to really support my clients and meet them there where they were at.
Awesome. Brilliant stuff. Yeah. Sometimes it's the nicest accidents, isn't it? You sort of life
Yeah,
just takes you along this path and it's like, this is where I need to be. This is the
yeah,
right spot.
yeah.
That's brilliant. Couple of questions around oh yeah, so her aligned coaching membership.
Mhm.
Is that the group coaching?
It is, yes. Yeah.
Got you. And you've already talked to that, so I don't need to I just I realized I'd already asked that question. And the other is the Empowered Women's Transformation Academy. So you talked about Kajabi. I'm assuming that academy is has its information on Kajabi, and that's what that is.
Yes, yeah. So both my Her Aligned and my one-on-one clients get access to my academy.
Right.
And I always go in there and update it, but I'm very mindful, as I'm sure anyone who's done an information course would know, that
Mm.
sometimes you can do a course online and it's like you get to the point in the first 20 minutes and it's like 3 hours long of info that's not really
Yeah.
any value. Do you know what I mean? So I was
Yeah.
very intentional to put kind of like teach like the teaching aspect of like having them understand and get that clarity around whether it's nutrition, mindset, behavior, all of that stuff, but
Mm.
then leading with the practicality of like this is what from this is what you can do and this is how it's going to support you, because I just feel like information isn't transformative. Like
No.
it's
No.
why people can spend months and years umming and ahhing to actually hire a coach, because in their minds they're battling with, well, I know what to do, but I'm not doing it. And so it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's actually that implementation. So I wanted
Mm.
my academy to be something that that inspired and also equipped my clients to take action, not just sit in information and yeah, watching and listening. Yeah.
So have you built things into it that requires them to do something that builds that accountability in?
Well, they have me as accountability for sure,
Right.
but and they have, and with the group, they've got the accountability of the group as well. So yeah, I do
Right.
have a structure there with
Mm.
that. With the course itself, there is definitely stuff built in, as in practical activities and things to do, like the practical side. But in terms of accountability, that's just all done through me.
Gotcha. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Any smart systems that have worked for you? Like, is it checking in on a shared drive, or is it simply messaging, or I don't know what sort of other things you could come up with. But there's lots of tech as well, isn't there, that can assist?
Yeah, absolutely. I think with my one-on-one coaching, they get like we do like a weekly coaching call anyway.
Yeah.
And they always have me, we've got like a private WhatsApp group. So I find that naturally the private messaging one-on-one between sessions and also having that weekly call with me is enough, because they'll either message me or bring it up through the week, or we'll discuss it on the call and go through it on the call. So I
Yeah.
feel like with my one-on-one clients, that's been working really well. So I don't
Mm.
do check-ins. I know check-ins are very popular online to, like they fill out a
Yeah.
form and then you send them a
Yeah.
video or something. But I used to have a weekly check-in form, but I found that clients, especially when they had a bad week, just wouldn't fill it out. And
Yeah.
then by the time you got the feedback to them, it was like 3, 4 days later and they're already like focused on something else or doing
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah.
So that's where I feel like for the one-on-one side, like it's really good to have yeah, to have that kind of like weekly call and then the WhatsApp. At least that's what I've found's worked
Mm.
best from that side. With
Mm.
the group coaching, I run daily challenges where I'll get them to post, their step count or like how they felt they went with their meals for the day or things like
Mm.
that. And then
Mm.
they'll also get other women like in there just cheering them on and vice versa or whatever.
Yeah.
And I found that's been a really good accountability tool.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, that's kind of, does that answer your
Mm.
question?
Yeah, 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 it
Yeah.
absolutely does. I think when you've got those one-on-ones each week, you know that they know they've got to turn up and explain where they're at. So
Yeah.
that's built-in accountability as it is. The tricky bit I find is if there isn't that continuity of catch-up.
Mm,
If people are left to a longer gap, then and there is a requirement for them to commit to, like you say, like an online tool or whatever.
yeah.
Some will be religious with it and nail it, and others, well, 1 week on, 1 week off. Oh, I've had a week. It's all or nothing thinking still,
Yes.
and
Yes.
so they need those catch ups, but don't necessarily always want them. So it's finding what works for everybody, and there isn't necessarily one size fits all, but it's
Yeah.
just useful hearing different ways different people do it because you never know. It could be useful for somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
The body positive movement. I'm interested to hear your take on that because I can't remember what the name of the organization is, but they have like a YouTube channel and they'll a well-known person to sit at the table. There's
Hmm.
15 people standing around sitting around with flags,
Hmm.
and the person who rushes up to the table first gets to debate the person on a question or a statement.
Okay.
And they did. Gillian Michaels was
Mm,
sitting on one side of the table, and then people from the body positive movement were in the 15,
mhm.
and they would debate. So she would come in with a particular statement, and they'd have so long to debate it, and it would go backwards and forwards, and she'd quote the evidence, and it sort of made me stop and think a little bit more about it.
Mm.
And then when I watched a couple of your posts, and that came up as well. I thought, it's that again. It's interesting to hear your take on it as well. So maybe for those who haven't seen your Insta post on that, maybe share your position, what you think.
Yeah, I think the body positivity movement started off well in the sense of it was really seemed like it was to empower women.
Mm,
But over time, I feel like it's the messaging and the thing around it is more like try not trying as an act of self-love, not pushing
mm,
yourself as an act of self-love. And it's
mm,
like we know um, evidentially, and with all the health literature we have and with all the evidence we have, that being medically obese does have a negative health impact. And so that's not about someone's worth. It's not about how, like it's not about anything to do with that. And that's where I find quite sneakily, I feel like the body positivity movement have addressed self-worth in women in a different
mm,
angle than the diet industry has. The
mm,
diet industry was be as skinny as you can be and then you're worthy. But I feel
mm,
like the body positivity movement is like subtly teaching women to settle because you're worthy as you are. And it's like, yes, but women were always worthy as we
mm,
are. It's
mm,
really about your health and you feeling comfortable and like yourself in your body. And something I hear time and time again with clients is how they link, I want to feel like myself again. And so we can't separate the body from the identity because it is
no,
a part of you,
same thing. Yeah.
And so and that's where yeah, I'm not a fan of it for that reason, as I feel
Sure.
like um it's kind of subtly told women to settle, to not push themselves, where in my 12 years experience of a coach, where I've seen women accelerate in genuine confidence the most is when they've got evidence to show they can do hard things. They've got evidence to show, oh wow, I did that, 100 kilo squat. I never thought I'd be able to do that. Like
Yeah.
that's actually over time is what like gives you that confidence because it's proof that you can handle difficult things. It's proof of your capability. And so I think, genuine confidence comes from capability, like and evidence of your capability. Um,
Mm.
and that's why I'm not a fan of the body positivity movement because I feel like it teaches women to settle.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. Yeah, thank you for that. It's good to get other people's perspectives.
Mm.
I'm getting a little bit bombarded by, you watch one of those and now it's like every single
Oh,
episode.
really?
But it's interesting. The thing is, it's not quick. You've got to prepare. You've got to put some time aside, or make it
Mm.
like a TV show that you actually sit down and watch.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there is some good stuff out there, and I think if it makes you think about it and you get clearer on where you sit with these things, I think
Mm.
that's useful. I think it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's about that time that I ask people for their top tips, Justine. So today is your turn, and you've dropped a lot of really useful stuff already. So I really appreciate what you've shared. But if you were to distill some things down and sort of say, these are probably some of the nuggets.
Mm.
And they can be anything, there's no specific type of tip. It's just what you think is things that have worked for you, stood the test of time, all that good stuff that may be worth sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think from a coaching perspective, what's supported me is really understanding principles over methods.
Okay.
Because when you can understand the principle on something, it automatically gives you more tools in your toolkit to use. Going back to what you said before about every client's different and everything works. So I know the
Mm,
most common one amongst coaches is a calorie deficit is the principle, the method. You can mix that up and change that about.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but experience in recent years with working with clients through like behavior changes and things like that and mindset. I think another principle that I've learned is like mindset really does determine um, whether a transformation or a routine or habits will last. And behavior, addressing behaviors and shifting the behaviors is going to determine their consistency. So those have been my two kind of principles that
Mm.
I've seen over the years that have been
Okay.
pretty consistent with every client. I think the second thing that I would share is focusing on the client as a whole rather than zooming in on one thing. And what I mean by that is like most coaches know how to put together a nutrition plan or a training program, right?
Mm. Mm.
And it's easy to zoom in on that and get super specific on, their macros or their whatever. And I'm not saying that's not helpful or that's not, good things to know and understand,
Mm.
but you've also got to see how it connects to the person and the client as a whole. And the analogy I like to use when I teach this is like if you were to renovate your kitchen, you wouldn't just be looking at the kitchen and where everything fits and everything. You'd have to consider the house as a whole because structure you'll need to maintain structural integrity and how the plumbing and the electricity fit in and
Mm.
all of that.
Mm.
And so when it comes to coaching clients, um, what I found's just worked beautifully over the years is really seeing them as a whole and being like, okay, she's struggling with her nutrition over here, but is that linked to the fact that she's, got a stressful job and like feels completely
Mm.
overwhelmed 24/7? You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so
Yep.
it's just kind of making those kind of connections to see the client as a whole, and therefore whatever plan or whatever kind of structure you give them, it takes into account that holistic kind of view, especially if your objective as a coach. I know coaches work on like, just doing 12-week transformations or things like that.
Mm.
My ethos has very much been like creating a lasting transformation because I want clients to have that longevity um, and really like establish habits, behaviors, understandings, routines that last, not just
Mm.
another, merry-go-round of of losing weight.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
so
I
yeah,
like
that
it.
those would be a few of my tips.
Mm.
Um, I'm trying to think. I know that's from like a coaching
Yeah,
perspective.
that's cool. That's fine. That's good. Yeah, stop starting over was something that I read somewhere, whether on your website or on one of your posts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I think in the same way, like if someone was to do a uni degree for 3 years, they would be so pissed if, like, at the end of that, they didn't have a job waiting for them. Do you know what I mean? Like, they couldn't get into a career, right?
Mm. Mm.
Um, and I know there's things in life that you can, put time and energy and effort into, and there's no guarantee. But, I think I can see just the frustration and just the fed upness, when, women have tried so many times to, um, you know, get into healthy habits, lose the weight, keep it off, all of those things. And they're just kind of at a point where they're almost like, well, what's wrong with me? Because I've tried 50 things and it's not worked.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So sustainable is maybe the third thing I'll add there is like
Mm.
incremental change is the only real lasting change. So I think
Okay.
where what I found is where um, and I certainly made this mistake as a young coach.
Mm.
I'd really ramp up their training, or like when they first started with me, be like, right, we're doing 4 sessions a week, or we're doing this or whatever. I'd realized that in motivation, they'd be like, yeah, let's go. And then,
Mm.
like hit that crash around week 3. So for me, like I really feel like incrementally changing where a client's at. Like if she's like only averaging 3,000 steps a day, cool. Like let's set your target for 5,000 next week,
Yeah. Yeah.
and incrementally building that up. One makes them feel good because it's a realistic target. And once they hit that, they get that little bit more confidence and then they build on that. But
Mm.
also over time, I found that that's been the thing that's been the most sustainable and it's been the most kind of lasting because it's not
Yeah.
intensity. It's that
Yes.
incremental change. Yeah.
Yes. I like it. I like it. Good. Well, I've been scribbling while you've been talking through those, so I'm going to add those at the bottom of the show notes. The other things I like to add is contact details. So, where's the best place for people to find you, Justine?
Either my website or my Instagram. So both are at, so my website's www.coachjustinejeddy.com. And my Instagram's the same. It's the handle's Coach Justine Jeddy. So
Cool.
either one of those is good.
Fantastic. Excellent. Well, I'll drop those into there as well, and then people can hit those if they want to have another conversation and pick your brains or even hire you.
Amazing. Thank you so much,
Awesome.
Rich. It's been so lovely to connect with you today.
No, likewise. Thank you so much for your time again, and yeah, it's been a really interesting chat. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.